He was judge and jury, and it was Mr. McCreevy who had sent me downstairs in the morning for disobeying and going out at night to watch the football team in Hamilton. I was only 18 and I'd always gone out since I was 15, and I was being restricted. And so I went down to see Father Regan, and why are you down here? I explained him the situation. I said, that building over there, we're all hockey players, but have been in here longer than this year. They have no restrictions. But I said, we on the Irish flag, we're all the rookies around here. I haven't seen the light of day here since I got here in Labor Day, and it's now mid-October. That's hard to do that to an 18-year-old. Sure. And I said, I don't drink, I don't swear, I don't smoke, and I'm not going to get in any trouble. All I wanted to do was cheer for the football team in Hamilton. So I disobeyed the rules, but what about all those guys in that other house who don't have the rules to disobey? I don't think that's fair, Father.
What do you say?
He says, I think you're right, case dismissed.
And you never thought of a law career?
Eh?
You never thought of being a lawyer?
Well, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. But no, but he was a very fair man. That's the only real encounter I had with him. I wasn't down in his office every second week or so. But over there we had, you know, Father Les Costello. Well, he was, you know, he was a hellion on wheels, on the ice or off the ice, and you know, they could come and go anytime. I don't think there was any supervision. And here we are. We got Mr. McCreevy there with the big bull whip every time we went out a step, with the threat that you're going to go and see Father Regan. Well, I didn't think it was right. But I'm just an 18-year-old punk. And but anyway, I won that case.
Were there many students boarding at that time?
I don't know in numbers, but we had, well, you know, they served meals seven days a week.
All the hockey players.
All the hockey players were, yeah. But besides the hockey players?
That I don't know.
Oh, it wasn't as big as the space here, but there were quite a few. Oh, sure.
Is there boarding on the school?
Never since 1950, since it started?
Well, I was boarding here after they moved the campus here, it was boarding. Same time, but not for very long. Down on the Oakfield.
Before it was football field, or?
No, on the backside of it.
Oh.
And here where the current campus is?
Through St.
So
Clair.
those?
So was the field built at the same time as the school? Way back?
The field wasn't, no, shortly after.
Yeah.
It was a big ravine, massive ravine at the time. And then came the field, and then came this outdoor rink. Put the roof on it afterwards.
Well, just like I used to teach at LCC, Lower Canada College, and they had an outdoor rink with the roof on. You must have played there too.
Good
then?
shoot. That's better than the
I
average.
used to say it was
Coming
like
out
the
of a
best
big
ice
can
Montreal, because
with
it
all
was
kinds of salt, and then they put water in
That's
it.
cool.
That's yours.
Yeah, sure.
And then they,
With the cage fence around instead of glass.
no, just a V-shaped roof with posts. I think they then would put like big tarps to try to keep the wind from howling in from the sides. And the kids who played hockey, a lot of them would wear ear bands and, you know, even a tube would fit.
Underneath.
Yeah, under their helmet, yeah. Then they built a new, a beautiful new arena.
When you think of it now,
Right.
relative to football,
Central Junior B.
Yeah.
when we started at that hockey
They had
season,
events.
we didn't have any extra
Yeah,
players.
we're
We had
out.
about 2 extra players. I discussed this with Joe Primo during the season, and when I think of it, when I look at the old Thurl, there were 5 players who were playing hockey with the majors who were playing football. I'm just thinking, you know, there was Harrison, Ed Sanford, Benny White, two others. If any 2 or 3 of those football players had been knocked out so that they couldn't have played hockey, I don't think we would have got out of our league. Because I mentioned last night, our biggest competition was Oshawa, it wasn't Moose Jaw. And you know, these guys, well, some of them had been with the Buzzers and the minor midgets, and I like Sanford and Harrison. But Benny White had come from the Lakehead to play. Fleming McKell. Fleming McKell was a quarterback. And Benny White had come from the Lakehead for hockey, but he played football. Well, if they got injured, I said to Joe, I said, look, why were they playing football in the sense of taking the chance?
Still happens today. Still happens today.
But we didn't have.
Masters.
Yeah.
That's what he was
That's
saying.
right.
But we didn't have any replacements.
Yeah.
There was an arena down here in southern Toronto that had boards about that high. That's where we practiced before the season. I forget the name of it. They used to do public skating. That's where we practiced. There was no other place. We couldn't get into Maple Leaf Gardens. So, and we had only 2 extra guys that did not play permanently on the majors that were at that so-called training camp. So if any one of those 5 guys who were playing football, or 2 or 3, got injured, Oshawa would have won our league. They were the 2nd best team in our league.
Did you just have 2 lines?
2 lines and 2 men.
Two forward lines and 4 defensemen?
Yeah.
And 1 goalie?
One goaler.
Yeah.
1 goaler. That's another story. Joe Williams, he's in our picture. He was a buzzer goaler the year before. I don't know if he didn't want to continue to be buzzer goaler. Anyway, he was our 2nd goaler. I don't know how many times during the season he told me, Howard, don't get hurt. Don't get hurt. I don't want to go in. I don't want to go in. Joe Williams. Oh, funny character. I mean, well, he was a good practice goaler, but I mean, you know, you have a practice goaler in case you need one in a game. Oh, no, don't get hurt.
Would
Okay,
he
Joe.
be at the games?
Oh, sure.
In the stands, eh? Like,
Well, I don't know where he was. He might have been even handling the sticks for all I know.
yeah, but he wasn't changed.
Oh,
There was
no. I was the only guy with a uniform. Oh, it's some funny guys.
They sat in the stands.
No, not changed. You were in the stands for the Leafs, weren't you?
I was sitting in Burgess Gardens. Burgess Gardens was a place halfway up on the west side of the old garden, a box. Did you come in from under the walkway? And that's where Smythe sat to watch the game. You probably remember, but Argos had a great football player named Shandy McKenzie, a lineman. Look it up, 1946, 7, around there. He was the first one through Smythe to run penalty time boxes. So every player, Syllabs, Ezenicki, they had a box, and they had, so let's say, 15 clocks. So a guy would be up beside Smythe, and he'd say, Ezenicki, absent, Watson on. So Shandy McKenzie, the football player, season's over, doop, 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 he's flicking the buttons, and that's how they timed how many minutes each guy played. Toronto introduced that through Smythe. And I didn't really like sitting up there, but I was the substitute goaler if either goaler got hit. The closest I got to,
Visiting team.
either one. And for that great effort, I got $25. If I played, I got 100. The minimum was 70 games in the season, and the minimum contract for a player was 7,000. That's 100 a game. So I would get 100 if I got in, but I never got in. But if I didn't get in, I got $25 for sitting there. The closest I ever got was Rangers, and the goaler was Charlie Rayner. And if you ever saw a guy with a stitched up face, it was Charlie Rayner. Because he was a pincushion with the team that Rangers had in those days, they only knew one way to go, and that was that way. They never knew how to come this way. So, you know, he got peppered. Well, he got hit once. You swear he was a cow in a slaughter factory. The puck hit him right there. He went down like he was poleaxed. I got a perfect view from Birch's garden. He hits the ice. I don't even think he was going to get up. Cold out, cold. In those days, they gave you, the NHL gave you 20 minutes to make up your mind and redress or dress a goaltender. So you couldn't wait till the 15th or 17th minute to say, oh yeah, get dressed. I can get dressed in 3 minutes. I can hardly tie my skates in 3 minutes. So I had to start to get dressed. And I was being dressed, I was dressing in the Leaf dressing room, of course, and Charlie Rayner was in the visiting Ranger room. I didn't know what was going on, Chuck. I don't know if I was too darn happy to go in with the Rangers, because I was going to be the pincushion. I mean, there was no protection with that team. I mean, you got Edgar Laprade, one of the best setters for Rangers. You could put the puck in the net, but he didn't backskate, he didn't backcheck. Anyway, so, you know, I figured I was cooked here for $100. And I wasn't too happy, you know, because I think they were already losing about 4-1. So, but anyway, at the last minute, how this guy got up out of being knocked out cold and go back on the ice to play a good game in 20 minutes is beyond me. And that's what he did. So I took off my uniform and took my $25.
I guess they had to stitch him up as well.
Oh, well, I don't know if the puck hit him absolutely flat. It didn't cut him, but it knocked him out.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Bang, down. And he was about 6'2". A big guy. A long way down, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah. Oh, I was going to tell you. Up in Birch's Gardens, I always came in last. And there was room for 9 seats. So the players, let's say the Leaf players that were not playing, they had to sit in Birch's Gardens. I had to sit there. Spice sat there. Shandy McKenzie was there. Anyway, come to 9. And I usually managed to come in and be stuck beside Smythe. The only advantage was, not much. Well, 2 things. But the first one was, at the end of the first period, you know, I've always been interested in finances. At the end of the first period, up comes a sheet of paper of the dollar attendance for the game. Now, it's none of my business. I'm a $25 a game spare goalkeeper. But here, Smythe's looking at the attendance, dollars, and I'm beside him. I've got to be blind enough to see what he's looking at. The average, just to show you how things have changed, the average dollar per game during the season, Maple Leaf Gardens that year was $30,000. Now, multiply that by 35 home games, that's just over $1 million. Total revenue for all the games in the Maple Leaf Gardens. Now they play a guy $5 million, one guy $5 million. The total was $1 million, just over $1 million. And so it just shows you, well, of course, the first time that the goaltender, that was that French goaltender with Canadians, he got the first $1 million contract. I said to myself, the NHL is not going to survive. They're going to put themselves right out of business financially. Didn't happen, but that was the difference.
So you said 7,000 was the minimum salary?
Minimum salary, $100 a game was minimum.
What do you think was the top paid
Uncle
guys?
Doug and Rocket Richard, 25.
In the fifth-
Plus a little bit of playoff ballot money. He did, my brother did earn up to 30,000 with, you know, Norris Trophy winner, all-star team. $500 for semi playoff, and $1,000 if you win the Allen Cup. So Stanley Cup. So you could win it. You could get another 5. So the most he ever made was 30,000.
How far back bonuses go? Bigger incentives are.
But I'll tell you another story.
That's why they started the Players Union,
I'll tell you another story
the gap.
about Smythe. Hapday was a good coach. He'd been a captain with the Leafs. I don't know if he played 10 or 12 years. A very nice guy, square shooter. I thought a pharmacist. He used to have a pharmacist in the building. When I was there, it was Doug Laurie Sports, but that was Hapday's pharmacy. So, but Smythe couldn't keep his hands out of coaching. The first thing he did, down behind the Leaf bench, there's these portholes in the cement. He had a light installed. And when he wanted to, from Birch's Gardens, when he wanted to, in the middle of a playoff or something, he wanted to talk to Hapday, he pushed a button, the light in the porthole flashed red. And Hapday, as soon as he could, had to pick up the phone. I remember once, Meeker, Howie Meeker, I could give you a few stories about Meeker too, he was a car. Meeker is not checking, but I'm on the end of the bench until you hear from me. Right in the middle of this, right in the middle of the Stanley Cup. Well, sure enough, Meeker's at the end of the bench. So then, to go past that, sometimes the red light was not answered quick enough for Hapday. But when you got the guys jumping overboard and, hey, you take the left wing, you know, I mean, you're trying to run hockey, but it wasn't fast enough for Smythe. So guess what? Joe Harvey, sitting beside Smythe, which was bad, became the runner. And instead of the light, I became the running light. So so Smythe said to Harvey, get down there and tell Dave something or another. Now, can you imagine me? I'm 18 years old. Hapday is 40, 45, all kinds of experience. And they're jumping over the board in the Stanley Cup playoff, and I'm going like this, Hap, I got a message from the boss. Jeez, I wonder he didn't punch me, but I mean, I'm coming. He knew I was coming from Smythe. So I had to pass on a verbal message to Hapday as to what Smythe wanted from Birch's Gardens. All for $25. But that was my dessert for coming in the last guy. Because whoever sat, but I always got the job, sitting beside Smythe and being the runner. And I didn't like that. I didn't like to have to go down to a day. I didn't like to interrupt his thought. He's running that way on the bench, and I'm trying to follow him. Hap, I got a message. He knew I was coming from Smythe, so he couldn't ignore me completely. So to say that, and of course in the newspaper, Golden Mail, Evening Telegraph, Smythe would be quoted as saying, we have the best coach in the league. Well, he's doing 95% of the coaching when it had to be done from Birch's Gardens. And he's saying the best coach, oh, come on. But nobody knows that. Nobody knows what goes on in those circles. I know. I saw it. I'll tell you another story. Are you recording?
I am, yeah. That's
Okay, I'll tell you another story. Somebody asked me yesterday who had the hardest shot. And I said, in what sense do you mean? The hardest shot to stop or the hardest shot when it hit you? So he wasn't quite sure. So I said, well, I'll tell you both. So I said the hardest shot to stop came from Max Bentley. Max Bentley was about a soaking 135 pounds, built like a needle, but you couldn't hit him because he was going left when you were going right. He'd take the puck, put it between your legs and move around you, and he was a pinpoint shot. And there was a 5-for-2 trade. I have them listed, but it was a guy by the name of Cy Thomas from Chicago with Max Bentley, and Toronto gave up 5 pretty good 2 defensemen and 3 forwards. So this was after that, when Max was brought to Toronto to get some scoring ability. Toronto has always been good checkers. They've always been good penalty killers, but sometimes, like they had Sillaps for a while, Ted Kennedy, come on, Teeter, Ted Kennedy, but he was a pretty good one, but none of them could score like Max Bentley. So that's why he got Max Bentley. So the other one, I said, now I'll tell you about the hardest shot. That's the shot that hits you, and not necessarily, I don't know what makes a hard shot, but when it hits you, you feel it. Well, Toronto had